I wanted to build a parabolic solar concentrator, but I needed a way to generate a somewhat accurate template, so I decided to write a program to do it. This program will print out a parabola on one or more pieces of paper. If your template consists of several pieces of paper, I found that trimming off the borders with a paper cutter helped a lot when I taped them together. You can then use this template to assist you when you cut out your frame. Since this program prints on a grid with a quarter-inch resolution, you can also use it to print out a flexible and disposable ruler. To keep things simple, I decided not to use an installer. Because of that, you must already have the .NET framework installed. As such, it will not run on a Mac or Linux PC. This program comes with a separate hub file that explains its features more in depth and also legal restrictions which you agree to abide by if you use this program. In order to read it, you will need to have a copy of Adobe Reader installed. There are three different ways by which you can specify your parabola. The first method is by coefficient. To use it, all you need to do is select the corresponding radio button and then enter the coefficient into its edit box. When you do, the parabola will be generated according to the displayed formula. The second method is if you know how far above the vertex that you want the focus to be. To use it, select its radio button and then enter the focus in inches into its corresponding edit box. The third method is by diameter and depth. This is the one most individuals will use. To use it, select its radio button, then enter the desired diameter and depth in inches into the corresponding edit boxes. Entering values into the edit box can be a bit tricky because of the mouse that's used. For example, you can enter 3, but if you move the cursor to the back of the edit box, you won't be able to enter anything. What you got to do is move it closer in. The same thing is true for the depth edit box as well. For example, if you enter 3 and like say 3.2, it'll be interpreted as 3.2, not 30. So what you want to do to make it display a little bit more accurately is move the cursor around a little bit and play around with how you enter the values. The options should be pretty straightforward. If you want an x-axis, go ahead and make sure it's checked. Same thing for the y, border, and grid. If you want to print out in landscape, you'll need to check that as well, or leave it unchecked for portrait. The margins are set in 1/100th of an inch increments. I found it's best to leave them set at 25 or 1/4 of an inch. To print, all you need to do is select the page that you want to be printed out, such as at the origin, and then select the print button. You can print up to 4 pages to the left of the origin and 4 pages to the right of the origin, and also 4 pages above the origin. I'm going to go through printing out a parabola using a coefficient of 1. When you select the print button, a print preview dialog will be displayed. This can be expanded by just selecting the borders and moving it with the mouse, or you can zoom in using this magnifying glass option. And then just use the scroll bars to go ahead and take a look at your parabola in more detail. As you can see the x-axis there, and also the page number here at the bottom. And again, you have the y-axis going down the center of the graph. You can also just maximize it using that button. These buttons up here are not used at all. To do the actual printout, you need to select the print button. When you do, the graph will be printed to the default printer that you have set up. I'm going to go over a slightly more complex print example. Let's say I had a parabola that had a diameter of 20 inches and depth of 14 inches. To select the paper sizes, I know it's going to span at least about 3 pages on the horizontal and 2 on the vertical. So that gives me a total of about 6 pages to print. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Right now there's the first page, and to print it, I'm going to go ahead and print it out using the print button again. Since it's already kicked off, I can go ahead and start the next one. This one doesn't have any points to print, so it gives me an option whether I want to print them or not. Just go ahead and close it to go on to the next one, and repeat the process for the opposite side. That one's kicked off, so I can close this and get the next one. And it's pretty straightforward. Just go ahead and keep printing those guys off to the print queue there. Close that. And we're all done. And the fun part comes from splicing them all back together. If you've specified your parabola by entering a diameter and depth, you can calculate the length of material you'll need by just selecting the calculate button. I'm going to go over accuracy. To do that, I'm going to print out a parabola whose coefficient is 1. I'm already zoomed in, so I'm just going to slide this one over. When you first look at this graph, you may think to yourself, this really isn't that accurate, because if I go over one square and I go up one square, I should be hitting right on top of the graph. However, you need to keep in mind that each square is 0.25 inches. So to go over 1 inch, or 1, you need to go over 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then go up 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're right on top of the graph where you should be. This dot over here is where the focus would be. Also, when checking for accuracy, you need to keep in mind the selected paper size, its orientation, and margins. In this example, I've selected a printout in portrait, or not in landscape. This gives me 8.5 inches for the width and 11 inches for the depth. However, my margins are set to 25 or 1/4 of an inch. Since there is one margin at the top of the page and one at the bottom, this reduces the overall available depth to 10.5 inches. My depth is right now specified to 13 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and select the top right of the graph to print out. As you can see, the total number of squares is 10. This gives me 2.5 inches for how tall this is. When you add that to the previous page's depth of 10.5 inches, that gives me a total of 13 inches, which is what I specified originally.